Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. We're excited to jump into another fascinating topic today.
Absolutely. Today we're tackling the age of innovation in medicine. We'll be looking at how some really cutting-edge tech is changing, well, everything about health, and maybe even how long we live.
Yeah, our mission here is to pull out the key ideas from the material we've looked at, focusing on these huge shifts in how we diagnose, treat, and even prevent illness, and crucially, what it means for you.
Right. The big picture really is heading towards a future where medicine isn't this sort of one-size-fits-all approach anymore.
It becomes deeply personal, proactive, hopefully leading to longer, healthier lives for everyone. So how do we actually get there from here? Because today often feels a bit like guesswork, doesn't it?
It can. And to really grasp the shift, let's start with a story about a woman named Kun Lawan. She was an elderly Thai woman diagnosed with lung cancer.
Oh,
Her doctors, top
yeah.
notch. The medicines, supposedly precisely right. But nothing was working. Her family was, understandably terrified.
That sounds heartbreaking and probably, sadly, not that unusual.
Exactly. Which brings us to Dr. Mark Boguski. He's a big name in genomics, involved in the Human Genome Project.
Right.
And he points out that what we often call good medicine just means, what works for most people most of the time.
Okay.
And it's often still based on tech from the early 20th century. Petri dishes, microscopes, that kind of thing.
So not exactly cutting edge for diagnosing complex issues.
Well, you use this great analogy. It's like a mechanic trying to figure out what's wrong with your car engine without plugging it into the diagnostic computer.
Ah, okay. You're just listening, maybe poking around, guessing.
Exactly. Looking at a tumor under a microscope can be like that, an educated guess. And this leads to, frankly, startling misdiagnosis rates.
How startling.
Around 5% of U.S. cancer patients. That's something like 86,500 people every single year getting the wrong diagnosis.
Wow, 5% doesn't sound huge until you put it in numbers like that. 86,500 people.
Yeah. And Lowan's story is a perfect example of why this happens. She got a second opinion using precision DNA sequencing. It turned out she didn't have lung cancer at all. It was a solid form of leukemia, but it was growing in her lung.
So the location was misleading?
Totally. The source uses this analogy. It's like saying a whale is a thief because they both live in water. It focuses on where it is, not what it fundamentally is.
That makes sense. You missed the actual biology.
And the author really drives home the emotional side of this good enough medicine. The protocols might seem understandable from a doctor's perspective.
But if it's your loved one getting the wrong treatment.
Exactly, when the right one might be available. It changes everything. It just highlights this urgent need for more accuracy, for more personalization.
Which brings us nicely to this idea of precision medicine, right? That term Dr. Boguski coined.
Precisely. It's not just about, faster tests. It's a whole new way of thinking, moving from treating a disease category to treating your specific biology.
Recognizing that the average treatment might actually be harmful for some individuals.
Absolutely. And a huge driver behind this is the revolution in DNA sequencing. It's hard to overstate this.
Tell me about it. I remember hearing about the Human Genome Project back in the day.
Right. So 1990s, it cost billions of dollars. Took 10 years, thousands of scientists.
Just to read one person's genome?
Yeah, something like $10 per DNA letter.
Okay, so where are we now?
Now, you can sequence your entire genome, all 25,000 genes, for less than $100.
$100.
Yep. In a few days, using a device the size of a candy bar that plugs into a laptop.
That's insane.
And if you just need targeted sequencing, less than 24 hours, soon it'll be minutes. They joke the most expensive part will be the lancet you use to get the blood drop.
So the speed and cost drop, it opens up completely new possibilities in treatment, I assume.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially in cancer. Take CAR T-cell therapy.
Okay, what's that?
Basically, doctors take out your immune cells, tinker with them in the lab, add a gene so they specifically target your tumor cells, grow millions of them, and put them back in.
So you're weaponizing your own immune system against the cancer.
Exactly. Your body's own defenses, trained for a specific mission, or there's checkpoint blockade therapy.
Right, I've heard of that. Didn't President Carter have that?
He did, famously for his melanoma. That approach stops cancer cells from hiding from your immune system, basically uncloaking them so your T cells can attack.
And these are new.
Less than a decade old, really. But some studies are showing remission rates over 80%. That's why cancer doctors are calling it a revolution.
It really sounds like one.
And DNA sequencing goes beyond just identifying cancer. We can now sort of read the tumor's life story.
How so?
We can see how it evolved, the different ages of different parts, the specific mutations, even identify bacteria living inside the tumor that might be protecting it from drugs.
Bacteria protecting a tumor. Seriously.
Yeah. Which means we could potentially use targeted antibiotics alongside cancer drugs to make them more effective. It's this incredibly dynamic understanding.
Which takes us back to Kuhn-Laron. What happened to her?
Well, once they knew it was leukemia, not lung cancer, they put her on a completely different specific treatment. And she improved dramatically, a real testament to getting the diagnosis right.
It really shows the power of knowing the specifics.
And that's the point. Knowing our genes isn't just about predicting like, oh, you might get this disease. It helps decide what foods are best for you, what gut bacteria to encourage, which therapies will actually work.
And maybe more importantly, what won't work or could even be dangerous.
Absolutely, like G6PD deficiency.
Yeah.
Affects 300 million people, mostly of Asian and African descent.
Okay.
For them, common painkillers, malaria drugs, some antibiotics, even eating fava beans can cause their red blood cells to basically self-destruct. Mass suicide, as the source puts it.
Wow. Knowing that genetic marker is literally life-saving.
Or think about the Oncotype DX test for breast cancer. It's used to guide treatment. But it wasn't until 2015 they realized, for a test used since 2004, that many women did just as well with hormone therapy as with chemo.
So thousands likely went through unnecessary chemo.
Tens of thousands, spared debilitating side effects, thanks to that later understanding. It just shows how long assumptions can persist.
And speaking of assumptions, the whole issue of gender bias in medicine.
Oh, definitely. It's described as a shameful recognition that most medical history, most drug testing, was based on males.
Which obviously impacts how well treatments work for females.
Hugely. When the NIH started requiring female mice in studies, they found big differences. Longevity pathways like insulin-mTOR signaling seem to favor females, while some chemical therapies work better in males. There's even this theory based on X chromosomes that the female is the stronger sex, biologically.
Fascinating. So all this leads towards pharmacogenetics, is that the term?
Yeah, pharmacogenetics. Predicting how you'll process a drug based on your genes. We already see it with drugs like the blood thinner Coumadin or Plavix or certain antidepressants like Celexa.
And you mentioned pharmacoepigenetics.
Right, that's the next level. Predicting drug response based on your epigenetic age, basically, how much wear and tear your cells show, which can change how your genes behave.
Okay, this sounds powerful, but how far off is it from being standard practice?
Well, the author shares this really personal story about his mother. She had a failing heart, was prescribed digoxin, standard drug, low dose.
Okay.
But it built up in her system. She declined severely. His father, a biochemist, actually diagnosed a digoxin overdose himself. They stopped the drug. She recovered.
That's terrifying. It could have killed her.
Exactly. And it just screams out the need for routine pharmacogenetic testing before prescribing.
So are drug companies catching on?
They are. You see drugs like Bayer's Atrophie. It treats cancer based on a genetic mutation, regardless of where the cancer is in the body.
So targeting the root cause, not the location.
Precisely. And even drugs that failed in trials might get a second life, like Gencaro, a heart drug. It might become the first heart drug that requires a genetic test because it only works for a specific group.
It really sounds like the future. Prescribing without knowing the genome might seem.
Medieval. That's the word the source uses. Medieval.
Yeah.
Julie Johnson at the University of Florida paints this picture where everyone's genome is sequenced and stored. Your record gets a red light for drugs that are bad for you, a green light for ones that work, even if they don't work for most people.
That level of personalization, it's huge, especially thinking globally.
Absolutely. Crucial for developing countries where genetics, gut flora, diet, it all differs and impacts how drugs work.
And it's not just DNA, right? You mentioned proteins.
Right. The proteome, all the proteins your cells are actually making and using.
Yeah.
DNA is the blueprint. Proteins are the workers doing the job.
So reading the proteome gives you an even more real-time picture of what's happening?
Exactly. You can potentially spot diseases even earlier, get even more precise than just looking at genes.
Okay, this is all amazing tech, but what about just getting in to see a doctor? The wait times can be crazy.
Yeah, the source mentions 52 days on average in Boston. It's nuts.
How does this future tech help there?
Well, think video visits, obviously, but also these tiny, like gum-sized disposable devices. You collect the sample at home saliva, blood drop, plug it into your computer.
And it reads your metabolites, genes, right there.
Potentially, yeah. Remote diagnostics could basically eliminate the backlog for many routine checks.
That would be incredible. And what about earlier detection of really serious stuff, like cancer?
That's where cfDNA comes in, circulating cell-free DNA. Tiny bits of DNA shed by cells, including cancer cells, into your bloodstream.
So a blood test could find cancer DNA.
Yes, and potentially years before a tumor is big enough to see on a scan. AI can analyze the cfDNA, figure out the cancer type, maybe even pinpoint where an undetectable tumor is hiding.
That shifts everything from treating symptoms to finding problems before they even are problems.
Totally proactive. Which brings us to personal biosensors.
Like fitness trackers.
That's the start. But think much bigger. The author uses the car dashboard analogy. In the 80s, your car had, what, a few gauges?
Speedo, fuel, temperature, maybe oil pressure.
Right. Now, a new car in 2017 had nearly 100 sensors. We demand all this data about our cars.
But not our own bodies. We know more about our car's health than our own.
Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that's changing fast. Smartwatches track heart rate, sleep. Athletes use 247 monitors. Non-invasive glucose sensors are already here for diabetics to get on. Constant readout on your phone. No more finger pricks.
Yeah, I've seen those. Game changer.
And remember Rhonda Patrick, the longevity scientist? She used one and found out grapes, of all things, were spiking her blood sugar. So she cut them out. Simple, personalized insight.
So what's next in sensors?
Oh, wild stuff. MIT is working on Star Trek-style scanners for thousands of biomarkers, sweat sensors from University of Cincinnati looking for disease markers, stress levels, diet changes.
Foot sensors.
Yep. Handheld breath analyzers that could diagnose cancer or infections.
Yes.
Sensors woven into your clothes, built into your car seat, constant monitoring.
The author even wears a ring that tracks him.
Yeah, heart rate, temperature, movement, gives him daily scores on sleep and readiness. And the idea isn't far-fetched of tiny sensors like body jewelry piercings, underskin implants, tracking thousands of things for the whole family, even the dog.
Okay, so we have all this data streaming in. What does it do?
This is where AI comes in, your AI guardian. It spots patterns. Spending more time in the bathroom, maybe it flags a check for prostate issues, subtle changes in your hand movements when you talk, or even how you type.
Could indicate early Parkinson's or Alzheimer's.
Years before symptoms are obvious.
Yeah, so it affects daily choices too.
Absolutely. Real-time feedback. Blood sugar high after breakfast. AI suggests avoiding sugar at lunch. Iron low. Order that spinach salad. Not enough vitamin D from sunlight today. Your AI tells you and maybe directs you to a supplement.
Like having a personal nutritionist and doctor constantly whispering in your ear.
Kind of. The author advises Inside Tracker, a company doing this now with regular blood tests tailored to your profile. A study showed their approach lowered blood sugar as effectively as leading diabetes drugs.
So it's not just optimizing, it's preventing serious events.
Definitely. Spotting early signs of a blocked artery, heart rhythm problems, mini strokes, things that are easy to miss but deadly if ignored. You could do an accurate ECG anytime, anywhere with your watch.
And that story about Suzanne.
Incredible, right? Her period tracking app, just a simple app, noticed data that was outside the norm for her. That alert led her to get checked out.
And they found
aggressive Müllerian tumors. She needed a hysterectomy, but they caught it years before it likely would have been found otherwise. The app literally saved her life.
That's powerful. It paints a picture of wearables, home devices, implants, all working together.
Optimizing health, catching falls, infections, diseases early, AI calling for help, emergency responders getting your vital data instantly.
It's a huge shift for individual health, but what about bigger threats, like pandemics?
That's maybe one of those profound applications. Remember the 1918 flu, H1N1?
Killed millions, right?
Over 100 million globally. Dropped U.S. life expectancy from 55 down to 40. And that was when global travel was limited.
So today, with our interconnected world,
the threat is arguably much greater. More human-animal interaction, easy global travel. The source argues infections are the biggest threat we face in our lifetimes. Could wipe out decades of progress.
But how does biotracking help there?
Imagine real-time data temperature, pulse, maybe respiratory rate from hundreds of millions of people, anonymized but aggregated. A global sentinel network.
So you could spot an outbreak starting almost instantly.
Yeah. Think about how fast Zika spread or Ebola. Those were relatively contained compared to something airborne like influenza.
Bill Gates warned about this, didn't he?
He did. In 2017, predicted a fast-moving airborne pathogen could kill over 30 million people within a year, possibly in the next 10, 15 years.
Chill.
But this BioCloud data, combined with that super-fast DNA sequencing we talked about, you could detect a new pathogen spreading through a city, track it along transport routes.
And implement targeted lockdowns or deploy resources much faster.
Exactly. Every minute would count.
Okay, but the privacy implications there are enormous.
Huge. Who owns this data? Governments, Google, Apple, insurance companies, pharma. It's intensely personal.
Your medical record isn't like a stolen credit card you can cancel. It's you, permanently.
And worth 10 times more on the dark web. Over 110 million U.S. medical records were breached between 2010 and 2018 alone.
So it's a massive trade-off. We trade privacy for convenience with phones, banking.
Right. The question is, will people trade, as the author puts it, a little more privacy to stop a pandemic? It's a classic tragedy of the commons problem. Hard to get individual action for collective good unless self-interest aligns.
What's the author's take?
Personally, he uses the tech. He finds the health insights far outweigh the privacy worries, just like he wouldn't drive without GPS now. But he acknowledges the dilemma.
Yeah. Okay, shifting gears slightly, but related to speed. Diagnosing infections faster. The author seems passionate about this.
Oh, deeply.
Yeah.
He talks about working in labs in the 80s using, quote, 19th century technology for body fluids. And he expresses real fury that things haven't changed faster, especially with antibiotic resistance and links between bacteria and things like Alzheimer's.
And he has a personal story here, too.
A really harrowing one.
Yeah.
His daughter, Natalie, was 11, got Lyme disease, but she didn't have a classic bullseye rash.
So it was harder to diagnose.
Much harder. She had severe neurological symptoms, couldn't turn her head, losing vision, absolutely terrifying.
Oh, my God.
And the medical system, delays. Initial test positive, but insurance needed confirmation. Second test failed. Treatment just hanging in limbo.
Well, she's suffering these awful symptoms.
He even offered to sequence the pathogen's DNA himself. His lab was literally across the street from the hospital. They refused. Bureaucracy, protocols, who knows? Point is, Natalie apparently had a 50% chance of survival at that stage. And they still waited 3 days for lab results before starting 5E antibiotics.
3 days? That's agonizing.
It just crystallizes the desperate need for modern diagnostics in infectious disease. Which brings us to high-throughput sequencing for pathogens.
How does that work? Faster Lyme tests.
Faster and broader. Step 1, get nucleic acids from the sample blood, spinal fluid, whatever. Step 2, cleverly remove the patient's DNA. That makes it cheaper and boosts the signal from any invaders. It's a technique borrowed from studying ancient DNA, actually.
Okay, remove the noise. Then what?
Then you sequence everything that's left, agnostically. You're not looking for Lyme specifically, you're just reading all the genetic material there.
And comparing it to?
A massive database of all known human pathogens, bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, right down to the specific strain.
So you get a detailed report.
Yeah.
Here's what's infecting you, and here's likely the best drug.
Exactly. Accurate, specific, no guesswork, days reduced to hours, soon maybe minutes.
That would have made a world of difference for Natalie.
Immense. And this speed ties into prevention too, like with vaccines.
Which have obviously had a huge impact already.
Unquestionably massive. Smallpox gone, polio nearly gone. Huge improvements in child and adult health, boosting life expectancy.
You mentioned herd immunity earlier.
Yeah. The Prevnar vaccine for infants against pneumococcal disease, launched in 2000. It didn't just protect the babies. Pneumonia, hospitalizations, and deaths dropped across all age groups, even seniors who never got the shot.
Wow, that's indirect protection in action.
A shining example. But vaccine development actually slowed down for a while.
Why? They seem so obviously beneficial.
Kind of a broken business model. Testing costs ballooned, huge liability concerns, regulations got tighter. A simple vaccine could take a decade, cost $500 million.
Ouch.
Plus public backlash, sometimes unfounded, like with GlaxoSmithKline's Lyme vaccine, it got pulled. Market forces, economic downturns, it created funding gaps.
But things are picking up again. Yeah.
Thankfully, yes, a mini renaissance. R&D basically tripled between 2005 and 2015.
Any examples?
The first malaria vaccine, Mosquirix, got deployed in 2017. And production is getting faster, using human or mosquito cells instead of ancient chicken egg methods. They got a Lassa fever vaccine candidate to animal testing in just 4 months for $1 million.
That's rapid progress.
So the hope is we're in a final sprint towards vaccines for really common diseases, moving beyond just the annual flu shot, which isn't always that effective, though everyone should still get their flu shot and vaccinate their kids.
Absolutely. So faster detection, diagnosis, treatment, prevention, it all pushes up average health span and lifespan.
Right, closing that gap between the average person's health journey and the maximum possible. But even then, Bodies wear out, organs fail.
Yeah. What happens when you need a replacement part? The author had a story about his brother.
Yeah, his brother Nick. Motorcycle accident, 23, lost his spleen, left him with a lifelong higher risk of infections, especially pneumonia.
And getting replacement organs. That's tough.
It's a grim reality. Organ availability often depends on tragedies, like car crashes, over 35,000 deaths a year in the U.S.
And the waiting list is huge.
Staggering. 114,000 people in the U.S., someone added every 10 minutes. The list grew sixfold between 1988 and 2006.
Are there cultural issues too?
Definitely. Japan, for instance, has far fewer transplants due to cultural beliefs and strict laws around organ removal.
The author's brother needed other transplants too.
Yeah, 2 corneal transplants for a condition called keratoconus. He literally sees the world through others' eyes, as the author puts it. Huge gratitude for donors.
But if self-driving cars drastically reduce accidents,
Where did the organs come from? It's a looming problem.
which is driving some really futuristic solutions.
Exactly. Like xenotransplantation, using animal organs.
Pig organs, I've heard about that. Isn't there a rejection risk or viruses?
Huge challenges. But researchers like Luhan Yang and George Church have made massive strides gene-editing pigs to knock out retroviruses that could jump to humans. It's a major step forward.
Okay, what else?
3D bioprinting, printing living tissue.
Seriously, like printing a kidney.
We're getting there. They've been printing simple tissues since the early 2000s. We've seen printed ovaries in mice that worked, arteries in monkeys, skeletal tissue. Skin grafts are probably next, then maybe livers, kidneys, eventually hearts.
And could they be personalized?
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Print them using your own stem cells or cells reprogrammed from a skin or mouth swab. No waiting lists, no rejection issues. Just wait for the printer.
It's hard to wrap your head around that future sometimes.
It is, and some people will dismiss it. But the author points out humans are surprisingly good at adapting our expectations about aging.
He uses Tom Cruise as an example.
Yeah. Cruise in his late 50s doing insane stunts. He's the embodiment of 50 is the new 30.
Okay.
Now compare him to Wilford Brimley in the movie The Firm. Brimley was Cruise's co-star. In the 80s, Brimley at age 58 was seen as, an old man, even though he's younger than Cruise is now.
Right, the Brimley barrier, the author calls it.
And Cruise is just blasted through it.
Yeah.
The prediction is 60 will become the new 40, then 70 will be the new 40. We'll see action stars in their 60s and 70s.
So the message to the listener is...
It's already happening. If you're listening now, you are likely going to benefit from this revelation. You'll look younger, feel younger, be younger, physically and mentally. You'll live longer, and importantly, those extra years will be healthier years.
It's not just about one magic bullet, but the combined effect of everything we've discussed.
Exactly. Pharmaceuticals, precision medicine, diagnostics, biosensors, emergency care, public health. It all adds up. Maybe not every single tech pans out, but the overall impact will be decades of longer, healthier life.
And the real aim isn't just pushing the maximum possible lifespan for a few.
It's about ensuring that all of us stay much healthier for much longer.
Wow. Okay, so that was a deep dive into the age of innovation. A really profound shift from medicine as we know it, reactive, generalized towards something proactive, incredibly personalized, driven by our own biology, our own data.
It leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? As we get better and better at monitoring, predicting, intervening, what does wellness even mean anymore? What new definitions of longevity emerge? And what fundamental choices does this give us about how we want to live?
A lot to chew on there. It's certainly an exciting and maybe slightly unnerving future to contemplate. We can't wait to tackle our next topic, so definitely stay tuned for more deep dives into these game-changing ideas.